So today's learning objective is to apply different strategies to build shared leadership in virtual teams and explain how a team growth mindset can be used to overcome current virtual team obstacles. And we're gonna find out tools to support work efficiency and creativity that our team can lead to creative outcomes. So now we're going to do mini activities so that we can be very engaged. The reason why we want to know your challenges is to empathize. Everyone's challenge is different. So we want to make sure what challenges you're facing. So please type in the chat, what are the current challenges that you are facing as supervisors or employees when working in a virtual team?
Awesome. So it looks like we have some hardware problems from changing to virtual teams, missing that physical or interaction with people that you had in the office. Okay, we have some feedback concerns, which we will be addressing kind of feedback and some language on how to provide good feedback in this presentation. I see that a lot of frustration and hardship related to this transition that we've been going through. Yeah, people are talking about different schedules and not knowing when people are in meetings or checking when people are in meetings. So kind of to the, looks like the understanding or being able to provide people with the understanding of their current situation and what they're doing at work. And then Beverly mentioned increased demands with people working from home and managing family responsibilities. I think that's been really big for a lot of people, is we all have our jobs and we have also our work responsibilities with our family, and when we're in office we have that work-life balance where we go home and we take care of our families. Well, when it's all in the same place,
right,
that's a whole different story, right?
It seems like there are overlapping challenges from the literature of virtual teams, but also it is interesting that there are a little bit of new challenge that we face because of this COVID situation. So maybe that's something that we have to be empathetic again and try to understand our neighbors, employees, and people, what their struggles are more in detail. And I think as a supervisor or manager, understanding each employee's situation, just like this variety of challenges, will be really helpful. So I hope you also notice a lot of different challenges. There are some common ones, but also different ones. So I hope you can also feel empathy about these challenges we are facing. Sometimes there's no boundaries. We work all the time, and it's really hard to keep a schedule around you, right? So excellent. Okay, now let's move on to next activity, and let's try to type in the chat, what are the strategies that your team may use to overcome those challenges that you just typed? So I know everyone has their own challenge, but also you have your own strategy to overcome challenges, because you think about that the more, because you want to solve your own problem. So you may have that answer to you. So let's share our wisdom here.
Like Teresa says, she uses sync to the email. Warren's understanding of time zones when working. Frequent check-ins with the team from Scott. And then people change screen backgrounds. Oh, it's going so fast. You guys are so good.
Yeah, we had almost 60 people registered, and I was like, can we really facilitate this discussion activity? And yeah, you guys are giving very good answers to it.
I like Clarissa's of taking control of the meeting by turning off mics. That is definitely, Crystal and I talked about that yesterday, of having to like control the meeting room. That's why we put you all to pause, like to mute when you came in here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then also there's a mention of trying to get people to express their opinion about anything over the phone. That is one of the areas that is really challenging is, you know, in office with people, you see their body language, you see their reactions to things, and in an online environment, sometimes we act differently or we're hesitant to really put out what we're thinking or feeling about something because of how it might be taken. So
Mm-hmm.
just navigating that and using the correct language, that's definitely something we want to touch on today.
Right. And also, if you're working in a national or global teams, time zone, understanding time zone is also important. That's already supported by literature. That's great. And using different modes of communication, or even technology, like what is best time to use email or phone or Zoom, each technology has its pros and cons. So choosing based on the purpose and how much you want to, you know, expose the environment, you can also choose that. All right, excellent. I think you're already experts and you're coming up with even better ideas than practical practice and research-based strategies. When I and Dr. Barlin, who's in this meeting too, my academic advisor, started looking at virtual team in 2014, we started to try to look at what are the factors that facilitate multinational virtual teams to be successful. And even, at that time, maybe virtual team was not that famous, just like now, like this is normal, new normal life. But at then, people struggled a lot. So there were, of course, like Warren said, was a coordination issue with different time zone, also task-related communication, like how do you overcome biases from different ethnicity or races or nation? Like, what are the, how do we overcome implicit bias that we have to other country members when we work? How do we avoid that? How can we build relationship, trust, learning about our cultures, setting the expectation, knowledge sharing, those really helped move virtual team forward. So these are some of the factors that we found, and we made this RNA DNL model because it's all interconnected. Not single one is just dropped out. Like they all work together. Like every component of this factor is so important. So this is in virtual setting. Also, we did another study in 2020, just published now, on leadership role effectiveness. And this is leaders' role, like 4 roles, and there are actually 8 specific roles that makes team success, regardless of virtual or face-to-face. However, in a face-to-face team, certain roles works well, whereas certain roles, doesn't work well. But in virtual team environment, we found that the leadership roles, everything here, helps team to develop their team performance, even though you're geographically across the nation. So we collect 44 virtual team across the nation, and we survey them. Based on the survey, we analyze those the success factor and leadership roles, And these were all the leadership roles that we found that can be facilitated in your own world when you work with virtual team members. So you can always set the goals, and you try to monitor teamwork as much as you can, but not to micromanage it by calling every day to your employees, but more of supporting way and flexible attitude, and you coach and mentor the process and be very flexible and try to get a lot of external resources for the team. However, this is one person's role, right? But now we are trying to move on to a more of team level research. So there's more research going on team. But this, again, we did study on how virtual team leaders cope with creativity challenges. So these were the factors or themes that we found to be very successful when you have this habits or behavior or roles. Your team have better chance to do good and better. So you try to build trust and relationship, communicate regularly, assign roles and responsibility, use effective technology and right technology, and understand your team, empathy here, and set guidelines and expectations. So you'll see very similar theme across the studies. And I also emailed the experts and got some insights from experts who are doing a lot of virtual teamwork. And they also sent me back some wisdom as very similar to what we've been discussing. So, but in this pandemic area, maybe we have to rework and rethink about our team charter and their agreements. So we may have to reflect back and make agreement on what things we need to change. So we may want to change the how we work things and make sure we have make sure we set the agreement on what we want to do. Provide early communication on goals, timeline, individual contribution expectations, and send virtual meeting agendas ahead of time. That's always good. And use software. And some of you actually wanted to learn about software, but there are a lot of software out there. There are a lot of, there's a comparison pros and cons, but I wish you can use this to facilitate the process wisely, because not all software will work best for your situation. So understanding your goal and mission first and choose the right tool or software will be the most effective way. And take consistent meeting notes or record meetings. I think it's really important to have the role of facilitator, just like Nani, and someone who can take notes. So like we want to capture what we've been talking and we are on the same page. We can use Google Docs where we all can jump in and make notes of it and make a comment as we go on. And most importantly, we'll say use work cycles. So you have to keep working on these principles all the way through. So goal setting, and then give time for them to do autonomous work, and then give feedback. So, again, goal setting, again, gives them a time to do it and then give feedback. So it's like a cycling a loop system where we keep developing our group projects. So I just said about the leader's role now, but if leader is good, is it all okay? I don't think so. I think team members, and it's about team, everyone's effort needs to be added. So because these days one person cannot do everything, we call it shared leadership, where we pull out all the resources and we believe everybody has talents and strengths to contribute to the team. So like a basketball, you to achieve a common goal, every player has their own role. And if there's no person, in the middle, you can't really run that team very well. So because of new technology coming in and its pace of change is so fast, no one CEO can no longer influence team members. So it's more about down here, like where you influence each other, you move forward together as a team, and you have to bring all those different expertise. I recently interviewed one manager who wanted to retire because he thinks his expertise is no longer needed in that technology IT environment. He said he can't catch up, and my new employees coming into the team, they know much more than I do. So I feel like I'm not a good manager anymore. So I want to retire. And he definitely shows some fear of this change, and he may feel like maybe he has a paradigm of being like this up here, being CEO, has all the knowledge, and then you do this and that. But because of industry changing so fast, and you have to be creative, that paradigm does not work anymore. So we may want to focus on more of shared leadership, and how we can pull the asset from individual, and how you put down yourself. I mean, I'm not saying you're kind of lowering your self-esteem, but in a way that you admit your situation, but you value others and you incorporate them, right? So that's also important strategy that our teams have to have. So here is another study on shared leadership. Shared leadership has 3 components like this in the literature. So the first one is relation-oriented shared leadership. That means you are supporting and recognizing, respecting others, empowering people. That's more of human-related social-emotional process. Whereas task-oriented shared leadership is you're actually taking jobs and clarifying responsibility and assign jobs and monitoring people's progress. That's more of shared task-oriented shared leadership. And then third dimension is called creativity-oriented shared leadership, where you express opinion without holding back, and you integrate diverse knowledge and offering constructive feedback so that you can move forward and be creative. We found that these 3 dimensions really support team performance through right coordination, time, setting the time well, and goal commitment, where you have same mission statement, same goal, and knowledge sharing, active knowledge sharing. So without these important variable, you can't really lead the team to be excelling. So another study we found was that psychological safe environment is really key to create that environment. So Dr. Edmondson at Harvard University come up with this concept called psychological safe environment. And that environment is, the environment where you feel safe to share your opinions, and you feel safe to reject to other opinions in the group, in the meeting, right? And you feel safe to learn, and without feeling fear to be rejected or, embarrassed or punished. So sometimes you may feel that because of organizational hierarchy in the team, you may feel like so much fear when you say something like, the boss wants to go this way and you want to go that way, and you think you agree with that, but you can't really say that freely because of that fear of losing job or promotion, and what if he sees me this way, that all fear, and how do we create that psychologically safe environment to support, free knowledge sharing and learning. And that's really key for virtual team as well to be successful and lead to team creativity. And also, this study was interesting because we found that relationship-oriented shared leadership was really a factor to lead the team creativity, whereas task-oriented shared leadership, assigned job, monitoring, task, had a no significant relationship to creativity, team creativity. So what that means is we assume that, even though we do a lot of project management tools these days, just like Trello or using Google Docs, Google Drive, or different kind of project management tool. But if we focus on that task too much and not thinking about supporting other and, giving some understanding of others' challenges or giving right feedback, if we don't have that social emotional support among team members, it may be really hard to make the excellent level of team creativity. Just focusing on tasks like you do this, you do that, it may not be effective when it comes to, lead to a team creativity. So strategies for facilitating shared leadership in virtual teams. And Nani and I have done a systematic literature review on this part. So Nani can elaborate on this more. We collected literature on shared leadership in virtual teams, not many, but we found factors that really help facilitate shared leadership in virtual teams, because shared leadership is a format where virtual teams really wanted to head to. So Nani?
Yes, hi. So as Crystal said, we're doing some research currently on how virtual teams are using shared leadership. And the reason that shared leadership is so popular in virtual teams right now and really has potential is because it has the ability to be really flexible. And as Crystal said, the work environment is changing quickly right now, and people really need to increase their flexibility and just diversifying, understanding, and the ability to work together. And shared leadership allows that. So in different articles that we did review in the literature, there's a few strategies that kind of kept coming up, and they were like communicate with the accurate, timely, and relevant information. And this is really important. Many of you mentioned that there was communication difficulties, people's faces, to really keep that communication open and make sure that everyone's on the same page. Number two, the being respectful to other team members. That a lot of us have competing priorities right now, and having empathy for one another and having the respect of knowing that your team members, your employees, they are trying to do their best. Mm-hmm. And just because competing priorities, maybe you think, oh, where did this person go, or what's going on with them? Just having that belief that they are working hard, and you just have that respect for them and their work. And then number three, demonstrating the shared leadership behaviors to others. Mm-hmm. So we want to kind of build an environment where shared leadership is our standard, where input from other people is the standard that we go by. Mm-hmm. That just ensures that, we're showing that leadership behavior and we're being leaders on our teams, but we're also accepting that leadership role from others and giving them room to take the reins and kind of show what they can do. Kind of leading into that, we're looking to support autonomy. So autonomy is really important for employees and their feelings and abilities, to grow and show their work. And so it's important to, as we mentioned earlier, give people space and time to perform that work before we're providing feedback or before we are saying, oh, where's that report? We want to give people the time and the ability to do their work. So another thing that shared leadership teams really found useful to promote success was the assigning of clear roles and responsibilities to team members. These strategies kind of have worked for those who are interested in integrating shared leadership into their virtual team.
Right. So I think so. And then also shared leadership is really connected to team mindset, and people will be questioning, like, what is team mindset? And this study and concept was driven by also the study from Carol Dweck's growth mindset, individual mindset, where, growth mindset meaning that, you believe that talents or ability can be developed, whereas fixed mindset meaning that your capability, ability is born. So, for example, creativity, for those who are really creative, that's born. You're born with that. Whereas, growth mindset people think, oh, you can really develop the creativity ability, right? So that's study from individual level. However, we wanted to expand that to team level, and we call it team growth mindset and team fixed mindset, to demonstrate the importance of how individual impact the team level and even organizational level. So Carol Dweck has focused on a lot of research on K-12, but more research these days have done in adult settings. So really managers and team members' mindset, it really works, and that really shows the importance. And here are the findings, the initial findings that share the components of team growth mindset. So what does the team mindset look like? And it was more of behavior that accept feedback and criticism, desire to learn. You're learning from mistake, effort, openness to change. You try to keep working on and overcome setbacks and take on challenges, and you trust each other, and you don't want to judge somebody based on their ability really quickly. Like that's probably very fixed oriented team mindset. So we're gonna do scenario here. This, because of time, let's do this scenario.
Crystal, we had a question in the chat, redirecting back to the shared leadership.
Right.
So they were wondering about, like, if you have a manager who's in the time of crisis is much more comfortable using traditional command and control style, what do you do if team members on a call do not believe in shared leadership?
Like, what if team members do not believe it? Or
yeah, for example, some team members who agree with the model, but otherwise who are much more comfortable in a traditional top-down approach. How would you approach that to try to turn the conversation to actually genuinely considering shared leadership?
So are you talking about in a team member perspective or a team leader perspective? Like if you're a team leader, it's much easier to change that to be shared leadership, right? But if it's a team member, it may have more extra effort to do that because of hierarchical system level culture. Yeah, that's a really good question, because people feel that shared leadership is needed, but because of their own culture not being very shared, and they're really hierarchical, people feel like it's really difficult to change it. And there are several strategies to change those environment, and that can be really, we have to have the team that agree on that change, right? Stakeholders, willingness to change in that direction is critical. And that's why I'm talking to you that leaders' role is really important, and awareness of leaders thinking about shared leadership and importance of leadership is really helpful. I'm not sure if I answered your question.
We'll have some more time for some
Mm-hmm.
more specific questions at the end if anybody wants to hang around.
I'll be more than happy to stay longer. We have about 13 minutes left. I feel more than happy to stay. So thank you. Let's do this one exercise, Nani, if it's okay for you.
Yeah. So we came up with this question to kind of reflect on some of the language options, and I see some of you already replied after reading, and so C is correct. What we want to do in this situation is try to reach out and talk to others. We want to be you know, open and to learning new things. I think we're already talking about that.
Mm-hmm.
And don't forget that there are other people in your organization that you can strategize with, or you can join meetings like all of you are doing today and discuss different strategies with each other, and then somebody might have a really great idea. So great job. It looks like everybody who's responding did see, so you all got it right.
Yes, but we have to make sure that, we're not judging somebody, team, if you have a team fixed mindset, it's bad, you're having team growth mindset, it's good. It's not that, because, every domain, there are different level, like sometimes depending on situation, you may feel this way or that way. It's like a spectrum. So don't feel bad when you really is practicing team fixed mindset. But awareness is really important. Now you feel like, oh, I used to resist feedback and criticism. Whenever I receive feedback from my supervisor, I get angry. Oh, maybe that's having a team fixed mindset where I don't really value the criticism or critique or constructive feedback. Because I'm used to be raised as like, oh, you're always good, Crystal, you're always good, in that environment. Maybe the critique or criticism is not really, comfortable to accept. That's okay. Acknowledge that and try to think, oh, then how can I try differently and build more of team growth mindset? Then you can use several strategies right here. So one component of team growth mindset and fixed mindset is on feedback. So you can determine which side you are in. If you are really good at accepting negative feedback, and if you develop based on that, then you really is having a team growth mindset. Whereas if not, and you really shift tasks quickly based on feedback, maybe we may want to work more on that. The importance of feedback can be applied to exchanging feedback among team members, even in a virtual world. So you can think about ways to share your progress, team progress, reflectively. So, 4 ways to exchange feedback more effectively is try to be an active listener no matter where you are. Be respectful and ask good questions to lead the conversation and show appreciation and empathy. I think that's very important when you change feedback, because you can really feel how the feedback is coming. And here are the specific strategy that you can use. Think about your team progress and in the past, and you have this Zoom meeting where you think about these 3 things, and somebody write it down on a Google Doc together. And what should your team start doing? What should your team stop doing? What should your team continue doing? And you make a bullet point of list and try to brainstorm it. And by doing this reflection, you will do better on changing your behavior in your team and find ways to better do better, change the better procedure of your team process. So this will be very helpful actually. And the second component was, how you accept change. So if you're open to change, then, mostly you may have team growth mindset. So perhaps our team could find new technology to better support our work, whereas you're sticking onto the one idea or previous plan or software you worked with, and you're not really changing any plans, even though you're having a new environment that you have to face. Other one is resilience. Again, it's a very similar concept, but how you turn failure to opportunity. Do you see setback as like a failure, or do you see setback as opportunity? The last thing is challenge. So takes on difficult challenge. Actually, there's one more thing, but takes on difficult challenge. I see this challenge as opportunity to grow, whereas your team really don't want to take a new way of looking at it. Leads with trust. Virtual team, trust and communication, two components are the key aspect. So you have to believe your team member and team has a good intention and try their best, and try to avoid making quick judgment based on their abilities. So for example, if something happens and you want to assign that to new person because you think that person in our team cannot do this well, like that kind of quick judgment really hinders team to develop and go beyond their potential. So believing the employees' capability will be really key. And again, it's about your belief about others. If you believe more on your team members, then it definitely shows growth in your team. And one study that I just did really showed that the leader who had a fixed mindset, the team members had a fixed mindset too. They had a lot of fixed mindset statement in the interview. Whereas if you have team growth mindset, that demonstrates and that leads to team more of team dynamic. It leads to better team dynamics. So how do you build a team growth mindset? There are a lot of ways to do it, not only individual level. I think this ties to your previous question on how do you change. Growth mindset language choice. If you use more growth mindset language, your team members will recognize it. Even though you are not a team manager, you can still use a lot of growth mindset language that may have that aha moment for your manager. Oh, okay, wow, this person thinks like this. I like that direction. Also, lead by example and coach on how to give feedback and reflective practice. And not only individual level, I think the culture and system level has to change, right? So evaluation criteria that focuses on growth mindset, and you can also set your organization mission and vision statement to be a very growth-oriented mindset to excel and to become a creative organization. So here's another specific example, tools that you can use, which is Team Growth Mindset Charter. And make sure that you do charter and create charter from the starting point, from the middle, and you keep moving with this document. It's a living document, and keep thinking about what's the purpose, how are we going to do this, what is the scope, who are the members, what kind of other resources do I need to have, and what are the desired end results, and how are you going to report it. And these are the checklist and questions that you may want to go over with your team. Also, there are more information in the Team Mindset Lab. We are currently uploading a lot of practice-oriented articles as well as scholarly articles. And here is my YouTube channel. You can just put your phone on the screen, then it will lead to that channel. And in that channel, you will see a lot of resource such as team charter. And Nani can provide also the format that has a team charter where your team member can actually enter each question in the Google format. So she will also give you the link to it. So
yes, I placed the link in the chat box. I hope everyone can see it. It's the bit.ly link, and so that will take you kind of to an example team charter.
right, this one. Yes. And on the website, there are a lot of like a scenario-based learning or training material that you can use with your team member. So you can do a little bit of workshop together to build team growth mindset on your team. Or you can also share this video with your team members and thinking that, oh, I care and I think we should build team growth mindset to overcome this situation, because not just only single one person cannot overcome the challenge that we are facing. So we have to stay connected and be strong. Thank you so much for your time. I know we don't have much time, but I feel free to step out from this workshop. Also, you can email me any questions you have. But for those who really want to stay and then ask questions, feel free to do that as well. I can stay here about like more than 10 minutes. So thank you so much. I appreciate your attendance today.
Just for everybody also, I will be sending out a link to the recording once Dr. Han has had an opportunity to make her final edits. That will be sent out to the email that you used to register.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yes, so does anybody want to, thank you all who are leaving right now. And if anybody wants to ask any questions, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask a question or type it in the chat box.